line, right? I said, wow. But then I looked back at where I came from, and then disbelief set in. And the Lord said, but you did it. It wasn't that I did not believe it, but I did not believe it. Does that make sense? Not that I did not believe it, because my legs and hips are still feeling it. But what I could not believe is at this point in my life, it was done. And we have got to the point that the church has got to a point in its life that God wants to draw a line in the sand and say that, you know, it's to the point now I got to separate the sheep from the goat. I got to separate the folk who just with me for things versus the people who are just with me. I got to separate the folk who just using me versus the folk who really need me. I got to draw a line. I got to separate myself. So Ezekiel tells a story that God revealed to him that God had set a relationship up, and he had set the template for it was time for Israel to come back to him. Now he had already dealt with the children, but this is what blessed me. Now it was time to deal with the leaders. And isn't it amazing? The thing that blessed me was he dealt with the leaders before he let the children come into the church. So God, judgment starts in the house first. And then you down here, he deals with on one level. But then there's us up here, he deals with on a whole nother. Let's bring it into perspective. The Bible declares that the priests of the Levite priests, now these were God's chosen people. These were the ones that could not get their head shaved. These were the ones that could not eat separate things. If I could bring it into nowadays church, these were the pastors. These were the associate pastors. These were the ministers. These were the elders. These were the MITs. These were the deacons. These were the leaders of God's people. And God had gotten to the point that it's time that I lay some rules down and separate the good ones from the bad ones. It's now time for me to separate the good stuff from the junk. That's right. And in every part of our life, God will begin to sift folk away from us who mean us no harm. Because you have a call that is so high in the Word of God. You have a call that's so high to God that you are so important to God and so need to be used by God that if you wonder why so-and-so can't be your friend, if you wonder why you can't go to every Bible study somebody having, if you wonder why you can't talk to them all the time on the phone, why y'all can never hook up, it's because God has drawn a line in the sand and he said, you know, I'm only going to allow them to talk to you from a distance because the ministry that's inside of you is more important to me than the friendship you have with them. You ought to touch yourself and say the ministry is really important. The Levites were so important to God, but they had gotten to the point where some of them had begun to take on the mentality of the church. See, there's a mentality that church folk have, and then there's a mentality that leaders are supposed to have. Can I just be real? There is a time where pastor, talk about me, can come to all your little cookouts, all your baby showers, come to all your little events. I'm not demeaning it by saying little, I'm just saying. Come to all your, your family functions. But then there's a season where pastor cannot come. That's right. There's a season when the pastor is with the people, and then there's a season when he is from the people, but with the people. You got me? There's a season where pastor is down from the people, but with the people, and then God will call the pastor away and say, come above the people. Because if I'm down here with you all the time, I can never get the revelation that God has up here to pull you from where you are to right here. There's an elevation in God that we should anticipate. If you are in a position where you're comfortable where you are in God, then that's all you settle for. There's no growth potential there, but all of us should be aspiring to grow in God. The reason why you want to grow in God, so that when I go through things, for those who were here Wednesday night, the only reason God allows us to go through, the only reason God allows us to go through is that so we will exemplify the image of Christ. God needs to see you go through so that when he looks down at your cry, he sees the image of Jesus. And when he sees the image of his son, that's what makes him send you help. But if he see you broke down, busted, disgusted, and gave up on him, then he let you go through just a little bit longer. Until you begin to take on the image. And the church, we have to take on the image of Christ because people are watching. People are watching. People are judging. People are imagining. Have you ever made a mistake in front of somebody who's not saved, and what is the first thing come out of their mouth? But I thought you were. That's right. And yes, and I'm so sorry. It puts you in a glass box. Because sometimes I hate my glass box. Sometimes I hate my glass box. I hate, but you are. I don't need you to remind me what I am. That's right. Trust me, I carry it all the time. I know. Right. So can I in turn remind you that you are too? Yeah, that's right. So what God was saying here is he was separating the Levites. When the children of Israel had fell off and they turned to idols, and when we turn to things that are not of God, can I show you how that look? Come here, Cam. Real quick. Stand right there. The purpose of our relationship with God is for us to draw near to him and to become one with him, and he become one with us. So actually, I'm glad I called her up, because I'm going to put my hands on her. Actually, our relationship with God is supposed to look like this. It is supposed, turn to side. It's supposed to look like this. Me and him, him and I. Because this is the position of adoration. This is the position of worship. This is the position of me just adoring my Father and my Father adoring me. But when I sin, this goes to this. The more I take on sin, this goes to this. The more I take on sin, this goes to this. Now, if you notice the position, I have left the inner court, taking on the form of the outer court. Now I've left the outer court and have totally left the position or the relationship with God of dwelling in the secret place. The moment I get in that place with God, I step into the secret place. See, in the secret place, you don't know where I am. That's right. You ought to look at your neighbor and say, don't judge me because you don't know where I am. And I say don't judge me because that's what church folk do. When I break off into a crazy